Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm back. I wanted to do a part 4 to my opinions and thoughts about the Florida incident and something else that I had been thinking about that I actually think is going to end up happening as a result of all of this. I was actually thinking about it today, and I remember how I had talked about how I think PETA is going to be all over this, and I kind of wanted to kind of piggyback right off of what I had said pertaining to PETA and the human zoos, especially, or the hybrid zoos. What I think is going to end up happening, like I said, once these creatures end up in zoos and PETA getting all over it, because PETA's not going to like, and I don't even think it's just going to be PETA. People are not going to like the fact that you have these half human, half Lord knows what creatures in zoos where people can gawk at them, do Lord knows what else with them. And I think what's going to happen is PETA, as well as other people, are going to make an uproar about it because, of course, obviously these are human rights violations. These are violations, and which I completely understand because we as humans already know how animals are treated in a lot of these zoos or so-called sanctuaries, and how many times sanctuaries and zoos and just many places that host animals of all kinds, whether it's dogs or even just the wild animals, and sometimes the way that they're treated, and it's not always good. And oftentimes the animals have to be removed from these places, and these places have to be shut down, and they have to be taken to places where they're being, obviously treated better. So I actually think the same thing is going to happen with these hybrids when they end up in these zoos. And some of these animals, I think, a lot of them they're not able to release back into the wild. Some of them they can rehabilitate and they can release back into the wild. But I actually think with the hybrids, some of these people, these hybrid creatures anyway, I see something happening where the hybrids they either, I guess, depending on how animal they are or how human they are, it's going to get to the point where how animals are reintroduced back into the wild. I think that these hybrids are going to be, I think the same thing is going to be done with them. They're going to be reintroduced either back into the wild, they're going to be going and living in forests, jungles, and then you have some of these, I think they're going to try to rehabilitate so that they can live among humans. So I think it's kind of going to go both ways. And another thing I see happening is because of these creatures being reintroduced to humanity, whether it's reintroduced into the wild, reintroducing them to, try to get them to live among humans, I actually think that's going to cause a problem. You know how you have human beings, how they live in certain places and they're encroaching on the territories of other animals, and how, like wolves, for example, use that as an example. Wolves are becoming extinct because a lot of humans are living in places where wolves live. And so oftentimes humans are killing wolves because they're having to deal with these wolves killing and eating their livestock or even their pets. So unfortunately, this is really driving the numbers way scary down. So there's a lot of things having to be done to try to protect wolves and actually grow their numbers, because their numbers have dwindled to such scary low degrees. And I actually see it happening with these hybrids, where they're going to get to a point where I think they're going to start causing problems. They're going to be living among humans, whether it's in the wild or just living among us like normal human beings. And it's going to get to the point where it's going to be hard for humans and these hybrids to live together. I actually think that, kind of like how humans end up killing animals, or the animals end up killing the humans because they're, the encroachment, I actually think that's what's going to happen with these hybrids. And it's going to get to the point where, obviously, because these hybrids are not fully human, they're going to be mixed with the seed of, I'm sure, fallen angel DNA yet again, potentially animal DNA. So they're going to be a lot stronger and deadlier than humans. And I actually think it's going to get to a point where they're going to become such a problem that there are going to be attacks. Like these creatures are going to be potentially attacking and killing humans. Kind of like what was going on, especially in biblical times when David had to kill Goliath, because he was one of several Philistine giants that they all had to be killed because they were causing so many issues with humans. Like they were killing and eating humans. If y'all don't know about this, y'all read this in the Bible. Giants are mentioned. It's talked about how much of an issue they were. A lot of people don't even realize that Goliath was not even the only giant that David encountered in a warfare-like situation. So y'all look that up. But I actually think it's going to be the same with these hybrids. They're going to become a problem. And it's going to get to the point where humans are going to, when I mentioned that there would be dragon slaying and all that stuff again, that's going to happen. People are going to be sent out because they're going to have to literally kill hybrid creatures because they're going to be turning on and killing humans. And I think they're going to be turning on, killing and potentially cannibalizing humans and just doing all manners of terrible things to humans because I think that they're not going to be able to live together. Because we see this with animals. And I feel that with animals, this should definitely be a different story because I feel that humans, I feel like we should be learning how to live in peace with animals, and I think that's actually possible. But when we're talking about hybrid creatures, they're going to have both human nature and they're going to have the nature of Lord knows what type of animals. And we know how animals can be unpredictable. And, if you read the Bible, the Bible mentions, and I forget where, but they're talking about how the children of Israel had to go and they had to kill these people there. And I believe they were hybrids. The Bible calls them the lion-headed men. And I actually believe these were hybrids. And a lot of people think that when God sent the children of Israel to go to these different places to kill and wipe out the people, like God literally sent the children of Israel to wipe out every male, female, and child. And I'm a firm believer that was happening because these were hybrids. These were the results of the hybrid offspring of the fallen angels and humans. They were mixing them with animals and they were mixed with the fallen angels themselves. That's what these demigods and all these things were. And if you read these legends about these different creatures and how they lived among humans, they were problematic. And that's why in every legend you hear about these creatures being killed. And they're often killed by one or more humans because they become such an issue. They become a problem because they're eating up the world's food, because some of these creatures, especially when you read the legends, they're huge, especially if we're talking about, things like giants and ogres and, the creatures that you read about in these different legends. And so I see something like this happening again. And there's going to come a time where we're going to have to raise up people, whether they be dragon slayers, vampire slayers. I see that coming too. That's actually another video that I'm actually going to talk about pertaining to vampires. Y'all gonna like this one. I got something for y'all about that one. But I think we're gonna be heading back into that time, and we're gonna be heading back into those times where, like I said, people think that God was sending the children of Israel to just wipe out and kill rats. No, he wasn't. These were hybrids. These were hybrid creatures, and they were very destructive, and they were destructive and problematic for humans. They were killing and eating humans. They were engaging in all manners of evil and wicked things against humans, that it became a problem. And I'm a firm believer that that's why God destroyed the earth in Noah's time, because human beings had been, the DNA had been so corrupted and hybridized that it was a problem. And God had to get involved, and he had to destroy the whole earth. And then you look at situations where God sent the children of Israel to destroy different towns. Sodom and Gomorrah had to be destroyed. And I know a lot of people talk about that they speculate on the different sins and that were being committed and all of that. And I agree with all that, but I also believe that there was corrupting of seed. There was a corrupting of human seed. Because even the Bible says that when Jesus was born, he had to be born of a non-corruptible seed. And a lot of pastors speculate that non-corruptible seed, meaning the DNA had to be fully human. So even in Jesus's day, there are those that speculate that it was very possible that people were they were on some level hybridized, or had been hybridized, or were mixed with seed that wasn't fully human. But you know, these are just my thoughts, and this is just what I think is going to happen. Like I said, I haven't forgotten about the Killers of the Flower Moon. I am going to be getting to that. I've just had so many other things going on. I'm also working on music and all these other things that I will be uploading and putting on the channel. But you guys think about that. I honestly see something like that coming, because we have these similar issues already with animals. We already see animals locked up in zoos. We see them locked up in sanctuaries. And I know how humans are about things, even just being around people that are different. It's just mind-blowing how being around people that are different sometimes evokes such a negative emotional response. So I can only imagine what it's going to be like when hybrids start walking among us, and when we start seeing, you know, these types of things. And it wouldn't surprise me if this started happening in my lifetime. That would be very interesting. But y'all take care out there and be blessed.